Hey, welcome, fellow human beings, to the podcast Addiction, Abuse, Recovery by Matt Logan Speaks. I am Matt Logan. However, I'm not going to be your host. Our host for this podcast is Scherer, who has personal, unfortunate experience with addiction and abuse, but she has been in recovery for more than 8 years now. Part of Matt Logan Speaks, we want to just share other people's stories in the hopes that it will help you through your day, that it's just another tool in your toolbox to get you through the day. So please help me welcome your host, Sherry Irvin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Addiction, Abuse, and Recovery. With me today, I have special guest Jeremy Scherer. Jeremy is a man in long-term recovery who shares his experience, strength, and hope with employment working at Doc's House, which is a halfway house in Rochester here. So it is my honor to have you here. And if you could share a little bit about what your journey has been and what you're doing and what your future goals are going to be.
Sure, absolutely. My pleasure. It's an honor to be here. I'm
Thank you
absolutely
so much.
Honored. My experience is, I'm finding out the longer that I'm in recovery, the more that I'm finding out that my story isn't special. Although we all have uniqueness to it, you know. I started using that. Well, I'd say probably around 15, and it took hold of me. It changed my life real fast. Started out with just pot, and then I went to drinking. Then I went to pot. Then I went to acid. And then I went, and it moved up throughout the years. But my big thing was I was running away from home all the time because I just didn't know how to do that. I just didn't know how to be in a family and do drugs. I wanted to be able to live at home, but I wanted to be able to do drugs and party and do the things that I wanted to be able to do. And then 4 days before my 16th birthday, I was on the run and I had a warrant out for my arrest, and I was in a sandstone cave up in St. Paul that collapsed. One of my friends had shot a gun at the ceiling, and it was falling on the girl next to me, and I jumped on her to break the fall, and it landed on me, and I woke up about 5 weeks later. I had a stroke while I was in a coma. I broke my back, my lungs collapsed. I'm partially paralyzed on my left side as a result of it now. Have been since 1993, and that kind of changed my whole life. It was just a fun party up until that point, but that, see, those things would never happen to me. I remember thinking them in the back of my head, thinking bad stuff might happen, but it won't happen to me, and then it did, and I was pretty athletic before the cave incident, and I went from being 6'2" to I'm about 5'10" right now, and I'm shrinking. I used to be really, super athletic, really gifted. I had promised to go a long ways, especially baseball. I was a pitcher, and my addiction today, what I understand is my addiction stole that from me. It stole my dreams in becoming a Major League Baseball player, could have been a basketball player or a football player or whatever I dedicated myself to. It's what my coaches would always say: just dedicate yourself to something, And I just never could dedicate myself to anything because I don't know if I never felt worthy enough, or if I was just what my problem was. But today I understand it. It's addiction. It stole everything, and so that started a downward spiral that and ended up in a couple of overdoses. Had a slight heart attack. Woke up again with the priest next to my bed, ready to read my last rites. That was, my pulse had dropped below 40. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care where it was taking me, what it was doing, and I didn't care what it did to my family either. Like, I just didn't, because it was all about me. Like, if you had an accident like I had happened to you, you would use too as the way that I thought. And today, today, now that I'm given maybe a little bit of sanity or maybe a little bit more clarity, I'm able to understand that normal people would go through something bad like that, and they might get down and out for a little while, but I took it to the extreme. I was like, I will show you. And to make a really long story shorter, I had prayed to God that the cave would fall on me before it happened. And so getting into treatments and different treatments and programs and 12-step programs, and they would talk about a power greater than yourself, and I'm like, God don't like me. God picked me out of this whole planet, and he's just picking on me. He just doesn't like me, and you would just poke and prod, and I never could seem to die, and all I wanted to do was die. Today I also understand that that's not just addiction, that's also mental illness. And so through a series of being in and out of the program, and in and out of the programs, in and out of treatments, in and out of my family's lives, and whatever, it finally reached a point where I was done. I was just done. I was done playing the game. I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to be that person. I was lying all the time, lying to cover up my lies, and then I forget what lies I told in the first place, and then I don't even... But everybody lies, is the way that I thought. And today I found out there may be some truth to that, but not to the extremes that I did. And I don't know, I just, especially with the cave and that accident, really, I let it define who I was. I let it label me. I let it, because now I'm not just an addict. I'm a disabled addict, and my life it's not easy. I'm in physical pain quite a bit, and there's certain things that I need to do on a daily basis to maintain that, to make sure that that's kept in check. And I did a lot of poor me. And today my accident doesn't define me. Addiction doesn't define me. It's a part of my journey. It's a part of my walk. And I finally had to reach a point where I was done. I was done trying to play different games and trying to figure out. I always wanted to figure out who I was, and the funny part is it doesn't take much for me to tell most people now, and especially working where I work in recovery and in a halfway house, is that I have guys come up to me a lot and they ask me, I'm trying to find out who I am, and I'm like, you're an addict. That's all you got to figure out right now. Like for me, that it had to get that simple. I don't need to figure out whether I don't even know what I was trying to figure out when I was trying to figure out who I was, but I'm an addict, and that's my most important problem, and I gotta take care of that. And I found and of course I found my solution in different 12-step recovery rooms, and I have a sponsor, and I call him not as often as I should, but I know he's there if I ever get down and out, or and it changed my life, and it's made me want to be a better person, a better man.
Yeah.
I see the potential in the man that I can be today, rather than the boy that I was for a long time. And I often think about sponsoring people. I've had the opportunity and privilege to sponsor a number of different guys, and if there's one thing that I can say that might keep one person from having to go down the journey that I went through, then it's worth it. If I can help one person not have to go through the crap, and for lack of a better word.
So true, though.
Right. It's. I don't want anybody to ever have to feel so alone inside their own mind. And that's what I found. I found people like me. I found people that help me get to the potential that I could possibly be, and that's on of course, a moment-to-moment basis. Sometimes I just get wrapped up in my own self and I get caught in my own life, and sometimes all I'm thinking about is me again, and that gets, my experience shows that's dangerous. I've gone out, I've had different amounts of sobriety or recovery in the past. I've had 3 years, I've had 6 years, I've had 2 years, I had 1 year once. Now I'm on 8, and it's. But the thing that I love is I've always heard keep coming back, and we don't shoot our wounded, and that just there's so much solace, I think is the right word. There's so much comfort in that. Comfort knowing that even if I mess up today, which very well could happen at any moment, this disease is powerful.
It's a day by day. You have to go day by day.
Right. Yep. And so I'm not gifted any day of sobriety, or that's the wrong word, but it's really learning that I can get through anything and I don't ever have to use again if I don't want to. And where it took me the last time was I just didn't. I had to call my daughter from a mental institution because I got a little down on myself about using again, and I don't ever want to make that phone call again. I don't ever want to call my parents in the middle of the night saying, "Can you come get me?" or "I did it again," or whatever, And it's really about remembering who I am. I always, because this addiction thing has really made me forget sometimes how bad it got, how bad it's gotten, at different points. There's the depths of my story go in all kinds of different directions that I think we have a half an hour, and it's like I could take at least a few hours explain if you really want to see where it goes.
How far the rabbit hole we
we'll be here all day long, and but the short and sweet stuff is it's my life got really bad as a result of my addiction. My life went into places that I'd never wanted to go. I never thought that I'd do. I never thought that I would become the guy that I became. But there's a solution. There's a way out. I don't ever have to be that guy again if I don't want to be. On a moment-to-moment basis, right?
Right.
So it's really remembering who I am. I think to God of my understanding that I have some guys that call me on a pretty regular basis and they just check in. And they struggle, and I get to laugh at them the way my sponsor laughed at me, and because it's as unique as we think we are, we're not that unique. We all struggle with the same, trying to trick ourselves into believing that we're not sick.
True.
I didn't want to be sick. I didn't want to have that. That goes down a whole nother road with my dad and family and whatever, and I'm just grateful that I don't have to live that way anymore.
Tell me about the work that you do at Doc's house.
Doc's house is it's like a halfway house, but we're it's a house that's set up for people getting into treatment, waiting to get into treatment. It's kind of like the halfway house before treatment, but we can also be the halfway house after treatment. We also have we have pre-treatment, post-treatment, and then we have a step-up house that is for, instead of stepping down, they really try and focus on your positives because every institution I've ever been to, like, if you mess up or you don't make your bed right or you're not up at 7:30 for meditation or whatever on time, like, you get in trouble. Docs isn't like that. Docs is about, all right, what are you doing well? Let's focus on that instead. Let's see what we can do to help you get to where you want to get to. What are you doing well, instead of bashing you for something that you do. Of course we're going to make mistakes in early recovery. We all do. Everybody does, you know. And so it's really trying to find that, help men see what they're doing well, and to continue doing that on a regular. You know, the thing that I found, at least in the 12-step program, was that I needed to start doing a daily discipline. For me, that's what works for me, is this daily discipline of certain things that I do on them in the morning, throughout the day, and then at night, and I repeat that every day, and it seemed to work for a long time. And so it's really helping those guys see what they're doing well, and sharing my experience there too. You know, I had the opportunity and privilege last night that one of the newer guys asked me, "Jeremy, what happened to you? Like, what accident were you in? Like, what?" I had no idea, and then, so I was able to just talk to him and help him see in a different light that he's not alone. He was also in an accident and went through some stuff, you know. So it's amazing. And
I know that Rick and Tori Utley have worked really hard to get Doc's house up and off the ground, and I've heard how just really successful it's been. It's really helped a lot of young men in the community, and kind of, like you said, get their bearings.
Right.
How many people does it house?
I think it's right around 19 total we have right now. And that's including the step up and the pre-treatment and post-treatment. Like, there's so many different parameters that I don't fully understand because I'm not licensed there yet. So to know exactly what they're talking about, but we're full, and we're constantly on a wait. People are calling all the time trying to get in because they've heard such wonderful things about it. And I just feel blessed to be able to work there, but also share there. You know, it's not work. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to, maybe I might say something to one of the guys that might keep them from using it one more day. You know, one more day. We just got to get through today. You know.
So where do you see your future plans?
Oh, I need to get back into school. I am one of my sponsors throughout the years used to call me lazy. He said, "You're just a lazy punk is what you are. You're just a lazy." And I need that hardcore, like, you are that hardcore, like, give it to me straight type stuff, because it's just what I need. And when they call me a punk and I'm lazy, and I just I'd rather sit and play video games than actually do something, you know. And so it's pushing myself to, it's actually been on my mind lately, is to get back into school, and I don't know where it's supposed to take me. We were talking before we started here that I didn't expect to be in Rochester, Minnesota when I was 15 years old playing baseball. This was not the place that, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And where it might take me, I don't know. But hopefully, well, I know that God's going to take me to places that He wants me to go if I'm willing to keep putting forth one foot in front of the other.
Do you see yourself, though, always working with the people that are suffering from addictions, like going on to getting your LACD, doing the peer recovery coaching academy? Are you looking at doing things like that too?
I could see myself doing that. I told myself a long time ago, I used to work at a 3/4 way house, and I had to kick a guy out once for drinking. He had broken the rules, and there was just, that was the way that it worked, like I had to ask him to leave for 5 days, and he ended up dying he froze to death under a bridge, and excuse me, and I told myself I'd never do it again. But I've worked there. I've worked at Teen Challenge, Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. I've worked now at Docs, and Docs, I could see myself working at Docs for a long time. But today what I understand is that my life isn't about me. My experiences weren't even about me. One time, may I share just a quick story? One time, a guy had asked me to sponsor him here at a halfway house here in town, and I went to the halfway house to meet him that day, or we had to set up our initial meeting or whatever, and he came limping up, and I was like, "Why are you limping?" And he goes, "Because I'm paralyzed on one side." He goes, "That's why I asked you to sponsor me, Jeremy, because I saw if you could do it, maybe I could." So today what I understand is that my life isn't about me, and maybe my experience might help one person. Now I never heard from that guy again. He never called me. He fell off the face of the earth. But hopefully a seed was planted that he could see that we don't have to let our limitations define us and prevent us from where we're trying to go in life.
Yes. In your life today, I have had the privilege of knowing you throughout the walls of AA as well, and many years. And, I look at, when I first met you, and you've grown so much. And last couple of years, you went from the single guy, now you're married. Yeah. And she's beautiful as well. She's a beautiful woman as well. I've had the privilege of knowing your wife as well. And you've got your daughter that's in college, and now you're at Docs, and the world's just kind of our oyster. But what I love about the fact is that, the one thing that I've always enjoyed about AA is that the common threads are there.
Oh, yeah.
And the people that I never thought in my life that I would ever talk to.
Right.
And you find out that you share so much. That common thread, but your stories are different.
Right.
And it's amazing. And I remember when I first came in, yes, we were told, you're really not all that unique.
Right.
And look where you are now. It's you've done so much, and you have sponsored so many young men over the years. They have really benefited from you, and I so appreciate the work that you're doing at Docs. I hope that you continue it. It was really a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm so happy that you were able to join us and share your experience, strength, and hopes with others, because maybe some young man will see this podcast and say, "Hey, that's my story." So thank you so much, Jeremy, for being here.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast of Addiction Abuse Recovery, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm sure you did, as I did. I want you to know that if you want to follow along, just go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Apple Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just search out Matt Logan Speaks. We have all kinds of great content for you. Hit the notifications button so that when something new comes up, you're the first to know. Have a great day.